Before Star Trek got movies and Star Wars dominated theaters, the small screen was quietly revolutionizing science fiction with bold visions and bizarre concepts. The 1970s gave us some of the weirdest, most ambitious TV shows ever made. Did you know one sci-fi series from this era was so controversial that a major network actually burned the master tapes to prevent it from ever airing again? Let's dive into the best 70s sci-fi shows that still deserve your attention. Space, 1999, 1975, 1977. Imagine the moon getting blasted out of Earth's orbit and hurling through space with 301 people trapped on it. That's the wild premise of Space, 1999, the most expensive TV series ever produced in Britain at the time, costing a staggering $300,000 per episode, when most American shows spent half that. The show follows the crew of Moonbase Alpha as they encounter alien civilizations, space phenomena, and psychological horrors while drifting helplessly through the cosmos. Martin Landau and Barbara Bain, fresh off Mission Impossible, brought serious acting chops to what could have been cheesy material. The practical effects still look incredible today, with detailed model work that puts some modern CGI to shame. The production design came from the same team behind 2001, A Space Odyssey, and it shows in every frame. Critics initially savaged it for scientific inaccuracies, but audiences were mesmerized by its existential dread and trippy visuals. The show developed a massive cult following and influenced everything from Battlestar Galactica to Interstellar. Stanley Kubrick reportedly called producer Jerry Anderson after watching the first episode to discuss how they achieved certain visual effects. The show's iconic Eagle spacecraft remains one of the most realistic-looking spaceships ever designed for television, with NASA engineers praising its practical design elements. The $6 Million Man, 1973-1978. We can rebuild him. We have the technology. Those words launched one of the most successful sci-fi shows of the decade and made Lee Majors a household name as Steve Austin, the astronaut rebuilt with bionic parts after a catastrophic crash. The series took the cyborg concept mainstream before most people even understood what bionics meant. Austin's superhuman strength, telescopic vision, and incredible speed were depicted through innovative slow-motion effects and sound design that became instantly recognizable pop culture staples. Behind the scenes, the show faced constant network battles over depicting violence. The famous bionic sound effect was created by rubbing a metal wrench on piano strings, a technique still studied in sound design classes. Despite its campy reputation, the show tackled surprisingly mature themes about identity, government control, and what makes us human. The series became so popular that when Majors visited hospitals, children with prosthetic limbs would ask him to sign their bionic parts. The $6 Million Man spawned a successful spin-off in The Bionic Woman, Countless Toys, and established the template for superhuman protagonists that shows like The Flash still follow today. When adjusted for inflation, that $6 million would be around $38 million today, making Austin considerably cheaper than most modern superhero origin stories. Battlestar Galactica, 1978-1979. Before Ronald D. Moore reimagined it for the 2000s, the original Battlestar Galactica gave viewers a space opera about humanity's desperate flight from genocidal robots called Cylons. ABC was so confident in its success that they gave it the most expensive pilot in television history at the time, costing $7 million for just 3 hours. The show follows Commander Adama leading a ragtag fleet of survivors searching for the mythical planet Earth after the 12 colonies of humanity are destroyed. The series took massive risks with its religious themes and dark premise, especially for a show competing with Star Wars for the family audience. The visual effects were groundbreaking for television, reusing many techniques developed for Star Wars since both productions shared some of the same effects artists. Universal Studios was actually sued by 20th Century Fox for allegedly plagiarizing Star Wars, though the case was eventually dismissed. Despite lasting just one season, the show's impact was enormous, spawning novels, comics, and a devoted fan base that kept the franchise alive for decades. The Colonial Viper spacecraft became so iconic that original props from the show have sold at auction for over $100,000. When the series was canceled despite decent ratings, fans organized one of the largest letter-writing campaigns in TV history, sending over 500,000 letters to ABC demanding its return. Blake's 7, 1978-1981. Think of it as the anti-Star Trek. While Roddenberry gave us an optimistic future of noble explorers, Blake's 7 delivered a grim dystopia where the heroes are terrorists, criminals, and psychopaths fighting against a fascist federation. The BBC gave this dark space opera such a tiny budget that the crew reportedly stole props from Doctor Who sets when no one was looking. Created by Terry Nation, the mastermind behind Doctor Who's Daleks, Blake's 7 follows political dissident Rog Blake and his crew of convicted criminals as they battle the totalitarian Terran Federation aboard a stolen alien spacecraft. What made the show revolutionary was its moral ambiguity. These weren't squeaky clean heroes, but deeply flawed individuals who sometimes committed horrible acts in pursuit of freedom. The most beloved character, Avon, played brilliantly by Paul Darrow, was a narcissistic computer genius who openly planned to betray his comrades if necessary. Critics dismissed it as bargain basement sci-fi, but audiences were captivated by its complex characters and shocking plot twists. The series finale remains one of the most controversial endings in television history, with the implied deaths of all main characters. When it aired, the BBC switchboard reportedly crashed from viewer calls. Despite its low budget, Blake's 7 pioneered the now common trope of morally complex anti-heroes and serialized storytelling that shows like Firefly and Battlestar Galactica would later perfect. Colchack The Nightstalker, 1974-1975. Before Fox Mulder chased aliens, Carl Kolchak was hunting monsters with nothing but a camera and sarcastic wit. This criminally short-lived series inspired Chris Carter to create The X-Files and establish the template for supernatural investigation shows that still dominate television today. Darren McGavin stars as Carl Kolchak, a rumpled newspaper reporter who investigates mysterious deaths that turn out to involve vampires, werewolves, zombies, and other supernatural creatures that authorities refuse to acknowledge. What made Kolchak special was its perfect blend of horror and humor, with McGavin's performance walking the fine line between terrified and tenacious. The show was groundbreaking in bringing horror elements to primetime network television when most scary content was relegated to late-night movies. ABC canceled the series after just 20 episodes, claiming it was too frightening for viewers, but the show found a massive audience in syndication. McGavin later revealed that he requested the cancellation himself due to exhaustion from the demanding shooting schedule. Despite its brief run, Kolchak influenced generations of creators, with Stephen King citing it as a major inspiration for his early novels. The X-Files paid explicit homage to the series by casting McGavin as a retired FBI agent named Arthur Dales, essentially passing the torch to the next generation of monster hunters. The Incredible Hulk, 1977-1982. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Bill Bixby's quiet warning as Dr. David Banner launched 5 seasons of one of the most human superhero shows ever made. Unlike today's CGI spectacles, this Hulk transformation was achieved through bodybuilder Lou Ferrigno, green body paint, and pure physical performance. The series follows Banner, a physician and scientist who, after a gamma radiation accident, transforms into the Hulk whenever he experiences extreme anger or stress. What distinguished this show from other superhero fare was its focus on the human drama. Banner was essentially a tragic figure, wandering from town to town, helping people while searching for a cure to his condition. The transformation scenes became iconic television moments, with Bixby's eyes going white and the famous ripping shirt sequence signaling the arrival of Ferrigno's green behemoth. Kenneth Johnson, the show's creator, fought Marvel to make significant changes from the comics, including changing the protagonist's name from Bruce to David because he felt Bruce sounded too gay. The series finale never materialized, leaving Banner's story unresolved until 3 TV movies in the late 80s and early 90s. The melancholy piano piece The Lonely Man, which played during Banner's hitchhiking scenes, became so associated with solitude that it's still referenced in pop culture today. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige has cited the show as a major influence on how the MCU approaches the humanity behind its superheroes. Sapphire and Steel, 1979-1982. Imagine if Doctor Who had a nightmare and you'd get close to Sapphire and Steel, a British series so strange and unsettling that many viewers still don't know what to make of it. The show starred Joanna Lumley before Absolutely Fabulous and David McCallum before NCIS as interdimensional operators fighting breaks in the fabric of time. The premise is deliberately vague. Sapphire and Steel are not human, but elements sent to fix temporal anomalies where malevolent forces from outside time attempt to enter our reality. What made the show unique was its refusal to explain itself. There's no origin story, no headquarters, no clear rules about what the protagonists can do beyond Sapphire's ability to roll back time and Steel's super strength and cold resistance. Episodes often took place in isolated locations where time had broken through, creating genuinely eerie scenarios with minimal special effects. Critics at the time didn't know what to make of its abstract storytelling and glacial pacing, but it developed a cult following that appreciates its pure commitment to atmosphere over exposition. The final episode ends with one of the cruelest twists in television history, with the main characters apparently trapped for eternity in a void. Creator P.J. Hammond later worked on Torchwood, bringing his unique sensibility to the Doctor Who universe. The show's influence can be seen in everything from Twin Peaks to Stranger Things, proving that sometimes what you don't explain is more frightening than what you do. UFO, 1970-1971. Before creating Space, 1999, Jerry Anderson gave us UFO, a startlingly adult sci-fi series about a secret organization defending Earth from alien invaders harvesting human organs. The show was visually revolutionary, featuring futuristic fashions that influenced real-world designers and a moon base staffed by women wearing purple wigs for electromagnetic screening. Set in the then future of 1980, UFO follows Shadow, a covert military organization led by Commander Ed Straker, a former American Air Force colonel. The aliens, never named or given clear motivation, have been silently abducting humans for their organs to combat a genetic deterioration of their species. The show balanced spectacular model work and action sequences with surprisingly mature themes like divorce, drug use, and the psychological toll of maintaining a secret war against extraterrestrials. Originally planned for American primetime, the show was deemed too adult by networks and shuffled into syndication, hurting its chances for renewal. Anderson pioneered new visual effects techniques, including one of the first uses of zero-gravity wirework for the moon base sequences. The show's influence on design aesthetics was enormous, with its sleek modernist architecture and uniforms influencing everything from Bond films to fashion runways. UFO's realistic approach to alien invasion, treating it as a military problem rather than a purely scientific one, has been cited as an influence on shows like The X-Files and films like Independence Day. Survivors, 1975-1977. Long before The Walking Dead made post-apocalyptic TV mainstream, Survivors gave viewers a harrowingly realistic depiction of civilization's collapse after a pandemic wipes out most of humanity. Created by Terry Nation between Dalek stories, this BBC series hits differently after recent world events. The show begins with a mysterious virus, accidentally released from a lab, killing over 95% of the global population in a matter of weeks. The story follows various survivors as they form communities and try to rebuild some semblance of society, dealing with immediate concerns like food, shelter, and security, as well as larger questions about what kind of world they want to recreate. Unlike most disaster shows, Survivors didn't feature zombies, aliens, or other fantastic elements. The horror came from ordinary people facing extraordinary circumstances and often becoming monsters themselves. Critics praised its unflinching portrayal of social collapse, though some episodes proved too bleak for BBC executives. The series was briefly banned in parts of Australia during a real-life disease outbreak for fear it would cause panic. The show's realistic approach to survival, including detailed depictions of farming, medicine, and governance without modern technology, has made it required viewing among some prepper communities. When the BBC remade the series in 2008, writer Adrian Hodges acknowledged that the original's depiction of societal fragility remained disturbingly plausible. The Tomorrow People, 1973-1979. Before X-Men made mutant teenagers cool, the Tomorrow People introduced British audiences to Homo Superior, the next evolutionary step for humanity with telepathic powers and the ability to teleport. Created specifically for children but tackling surprisingly mature themes, this Thames television series ran for an impressive 6 seasons and 68 episodes. The show follows several teenagers who discover they are breaking out as Tomorrow People, developing special abilities and connecting with others of their kind. Their headquarters, a disused underground station equipped with a biotronic computer called Tim, serves as their base for adventures involving aliens, time travel, and defending humanity despite their genetically programmed inability to kill. The series tackled complex issues like prejudice, conformity, and genetic engineering with a directness unusual for children's television of the era. The show's extremely limited budget led to creative solutions, including the iconic, jaunting teleportation effect created with simple camera tricks and sound design. Despite its financial constraints, the series developed a passionate following that kept it on air for years. The show was reimagined twice, once by Nickelodeon in the 1990s and again by the CW in 2013, though neither captured the odd charm of the original. Original cast member Nicholas Young recalled that fan mail often came from isolated children who felt different from their peers and found comfort in the show's message that being different might actually mean being special. Logans Run, 1977-1978. After the 1976 film became a surprise hit, CBS quickly developed a television continuation that expanded the world beyond the Dome City. Despite lasting only 14 episodes, the show developed a passionate following for its ambitious world-building and gorgeous location photography shot throughout the American Southwest. The series follows Logan and Jessica as they escape from the City of Domes, where everyone is executed at age 30, and search for the mythical sanctuary with the help of an android named Rem. Each episode featured the fugitives discovering various post-apocalyptic societies that had developed after the nuclear war while evading the Sandman Francis, who pursues them relentlessly. What made the show special was its episodic exploration of different possible futures for humanity, from technological utopias to primitive tribes, each with their own advantages and fatal flaws. MGM spent lavishly on the pilot, nearly $1 million in 1977 dollars, but subsequent budget cuts led to increasing reliance on stock footage and simple sets. Despite solid ratings, the expensive production was canceled after failing to become the blockbuster hit CBS had hoped for. Gregory Harrison, who played Logan, later revealed that he performed many of his own stunts, including a dangerous sequence involving real rattlesnakes. The show's extensive outdoor filming in places like Mojave Desert and Zion National Park provided a visual scope unusual for television sci-fi of the era, which typically relied on studio sets. Star Trek The Animated Series, 1973-1974. When NBC canceled the original Star Trek, fans thought the 5-year mission was over after just 3. But this Emmy-winning animated continuation brought back the entire original cast, plus expanded alien crew members that would have been impossible with live-action makeup and effects technology of the time. The series picks up where the original left off, with Kirk, Spock, and the Enterprise crew continuing their exploration of strange new worlds. What made the animated series special was how it expanded the Trek universe in ways the original series couldn't afford, including truly alien crew members like Lieutenant Arex with his 3 arms and Lieutenant Maress, a feline communications officer. Many episodes were written by original series veterans, including D.C. Fontana, who served as associate producer and story editor. Despite being marketed as a children's show, the series maintained the sophisticated themes and storytelling of its predecessor, even winning Star Trek's first Emmy Award. Gene Roddenberry initially considered it non-canon, but many elements were later incorporated into the franchise, including the first appearance of the holodeck. James Doohan and Majel Barrett performed most of the supporting character voices beyond the main cast to save on budget. Walter Koenig, the only original cast member not to voice his character due to budget constraints, contributed one of the series' most acclaimed episodes, The Infinite Vulcan. The Omega Factor, 1979. The BBC created this psychological thriller series about ESP and government psychic research, then promptly cancelled it after one season due to complaints from religious groups like the Nationwide Festival of Light, who claimed it promoted the occult and witchcraft. The controversy only enhanced its cult status among viewers who managed to catch it. The series follows journalist Tom Crane, who discovers he has powerful psychic abilities that draw the attention of Department 7, a secret government organization investigating paranormal phenomena. As Crane develops his abilities, he becomes entangled in a conflict with a shadowy centuries-old society called Omega, led by the mysterious Edward Drexel. What distinguished the Omega Factor was its psychological approach to the paranormal, treating ESP and telekinesis as extensions of human potential rather than supernatural powers. Mary Whitehouse, a notorious British moral campaigner, specifically targeted one episode featuring a brain transplant as thoroughly evil and demanded the series be cancelled. The BBC denied her influence, but didn't renew the show despite strong ratings. Lead actor James Hazeldine later revealed that several planned storylines were abandoned for being too disturbing for television, including one episode deemed so controversial that the script was reportedly destroyed. The show's mature treatment of psychic phenomena influenced later series like The X-Files and Fringe, with Chris Carter acknowledging it as an inspiration alongside Kolchak. Space Academy, 1977-1979. Riding the sci-fi wave generated by Star Wars, Filmation created this Saturday morning adventure featuring the first multicultural teen space crew in television history. What made Space Academy special was how it balanced legitimate scientific concepts with exciting stories accessible to younger viewers. Set in the year 3732, the series follows the adventures of students at Space Academy, a school for gifted teenagers located on an asteroid. Led by Commander Isaac Gampu, played by Lost in Space veteran Jonathan Harris, the diverse cadets use their various talents to solve crises throughout the galaxy. The show featured groundbreaking special effects for children's television, including a technique called Filmation's live animation process that combined live actors with miniature effects. Critics initially dismissed it as Star Trek for kids, but educators praised its inclusion of genuine scientific principles and problem-solving that favored intelligence over violence. The show's diverse cast, featuring Black, Asian, and female characters in prominent roles, was progressive for 1970s children's programming. Filmation produced the series for approximately $200,000 per episode, a substantial budget for Saturday morning television at the time. The show's success led to a spin-off series, Jason of Star Command, which took a more action-oriented approach with the same sets and props to maximize the studio's investment. The StarLost, 1973-1974. Quite possibly the greatest sci-fi premise ever wasted by network meddling, the StarLost was created by legendary writer Harlan Ellison, who was so disgusted by the final product that he used his pseudonym Cordwainer Bird in the credits, the signal to fans that his work had been butchered beyond recognition. The series is set aboard Earthship Ark, a gigantic spacecraft containing hundreds of biospheres, each preserving a different culture from Earth after the planet became uninhabitable. The inhabitants have forgotten they're on a spaceship until a young man named Devon discovers the truth and learns the Ark is on a collision course with a star. Along with two companions, he travels between domes trying to find the knowledge to save the Ark while encountering strange societies that evolved in isolation for centuries. The concept was brilliant, but the execution was hampered by budget cuts, technical problems with the untested Magicum special effects system, and constant rewrites of Ellison's scripts. Renowned science fiction author Ben Bova, who served as technical advisor, later wrote a scathing novel called The Star-Crossed, based on his experience. Despite its troubled production, the show developed a cult following attracted to its ambitious concept and philosophical questions. Canadian broadcast regulations requiring Canadian content inadvertently preserved this fascinating failure, ensuring it would find new audiences through syndication long after Ellison had disowned it. Which of these 70s sci-fi shows deserves a modern streaming revival? Let me know in the comments which ones you've seen and which ones you're adding to your watch list. While today's sci-fi television has better effects and bigger budgets, did these pioneering shows actually take more creative risks by tackling philosophical questions that modern series are too afraid to explore? The legacy of these boundary-pushing shows continues to influence everything we watch today, even if most viewers don't realize it.